So Evangeline versus the Machine is the 8th studio album by American country singer Eric Church. It was released on May 2nd, 2025. Church has explained in interviews that the machine represents consumption and Evangeline represents creativity. So it is the struggle between creativity and consumption. So, Eric, your thoughts on this album?
I gotta say, I was very pleased with this album.
Okay.
I love Eric Church. Um, I remember when I saw him open, he was just an opener for Eric or Brad Paisley,
Oh, nice.
and he was like a nobody at the time, and I was like, this guy is awesome. And he reminds me of a modern day, like, I want to say Bruce Springsteen. He's got that kind of feel of a Bruce Springsteen to him, with
Interesting.
a
Okay.
little bit of Bob Dylan in there, and um, he definitely like a lot of country, like a lot of country influences. Like you got Hank Williams, not like senior, um,
Mm-hmm. Wait,
influences.
before we move on from that, so Bruce Springsteen with Dylan in there. That's
I would say
personally
more so on a songwriting.
okay from a song because for me, when I think Eric Church and I listen to this album, I'm like, this reminds me of Garth Brooks, modern day, but less
Mm,
country.
interesting.
That's like my first inclination of Eric Church. I'm like, it sounds like Garth Brooks, like songwriting wise, but I'm like, it's less country than that.
Interesting. I would say Garth Brooks could be in there. But this album is definitely more of a not country album sound
Yes.
to it
Yep.
compared to his original stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or yeah, his older stuff. So, um I thought this album was great. I can see a lot of country fans not digging it as much because it's like, where is the Drink in My Hand song? Where is, like all those classics, right?
Right.
Like I'm gonna name some here.
But he has a song called Johnny in here. I feel like
Yeah,
that's pretty
uh,
stupid.
yeah. Drink in my hand. Round here, buzz. He has a song called Jack Daniels, right? Which is pretty much him just drinking Jack Daniels, and Jack Daniels kicked my ass again last night, right? So it's definitely like you're not getting that style in this album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say this album is actually probably one of his more mature ones. He did one of my favorite albums is Mr. Misunderstood. That album was top of the line. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's his best album to date. And that was a few albums ago now. Double album, never really dug it. And then the one before that, Desperate Man, wasn't good. But I'm glad because he has that old school sound to it, but it was like a bit more of a mature kind of like content in his lyrics.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like you said, it is definitely a struggle between like the old way of songwriting versus modern day, like how music is written now.
Yeah.
So, which I found it was very, very intriguing as like an artist
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. In terms of the songs, I think I love Bleed on Paper. Love it. When it breaks down into that choir,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, howdy. It
Mm-hmm.
just sounds so good. And I think I love that church like kind of soul aspect that he added to this album, which is kind of unique.
Yep.
Um, it's definitely pushing the boundaries of what country music can be. Because I would argue that a lot of these southern states where country is predominant, there's also that highly influence in like church, the
Gospel.
choir
Yeah.
music, gospel music.
Yep.
So it was kind of cool to see that blend. Um, and it's like blended very well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. I'm sort of on the other side of the fence where you're
Mm,
sitting at. I listened to this album. Well, first thing, I guess I should preface this. I've never listened to an Eric Church album before.
Mhm.
So this is technically my first album that I've listened to him. So going into it, like I know his like singles, but like going into it, I was like, okay, country album. Let's get into this. And as soon as like
Mhm.
I hit play, I was like, this is not country. Like where's the country? And
Mhm.
I think that was my bad. Like on my part, that was my bad because I like listening to it. I was like, I was expecting one thing, and then I was like, I'm not getting what I thought I was signing up for. Which goes back to your original point of like, you don't think that country fans are going to enjoy this album as much because it's sort of missing that core country thing to it, which I sort of felt when I was listening to this. I was like, this is cool,
Yeah.
but like it's missing a lot of like elements, which on one hand I'm like, that's good because I freaking hate the tropey stuff that country music does. But then at the same time, like, I thought this was a country artist.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like
See,
go for it.
and that's where I've seen him transition kind of almost into like a Bruce Springsteen sounding kind of album, that like Americana kind of style
Mm,
to it. So
right.
that's where like I've followed Eric Church since he started.
Mm,
So I guess like I actually really enjoyed it because it's definitely showed his matureness in music and how he's adapted, because unlike his other stuff, like there is messages in his songs and there may be underlying themes, but I wouldn't say as much as this one is almost like he decided to make a concept album for himself, which I thought was very interesting, and I thought he did it very well.
yeah, that is the one thing I did enjoy about this album. It felt almost like a concept album because like even looking at the title is just like that seems very poetic slash like there's a reason you call this like Evangeline versus the Machine. It's like there's a reason you
Mhm.
did that. So listening to these songs is like, oh, there's like a deeper meaning to like all this and like the way you put it together. Even the last song, Clap Hands, which is a Tom Waits like cover. Like you don't cover Tom Waits unless you have like a specific reason to.
Mhm.
So I did to a certain extent like the album. I just don't know if I was really hooked on it. One, because I
Interesting.
sort of went in with the wrong mindset, expecting it to
Mhm.
be a bit more country than it was, which might be a pro for other people. But then
Mhm.
on the other hand, I was listening to it and like I don't know. I just didn't. It didn't vibe with me for the most part. I thought the
Mhm.
song sounded good, but there were only specific things that I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," or "That's interesting." But like throughout the whole album, I was like, I sort of get what this whole album is about, but I don't really care all that much when
Mhm.
I'm listening to it. Like there were certain musical things I was like, "Oh, that's cool." There's like a triplet on the snare there to like keep you awake a bit. Like there's a surprise there. But I was like, okay, there's some cool stuff in here, but I don't know. I felt like what listening to the album from front to back, I was like, I want a little bit more. I think
Mhm.
each of these songs is like, I want a little bit more of something that I haven't heard before.
Interesting.
Because it was sort of sitting in that, I wouldn't say laid back rock style, but it was definitely like a bit more of a Bon Jovi, modern day Bon Jovi, but better, I would say. Right?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Absolutely. Now, what did you think? Because I thought it was kind of neat. Usually, when like, because there was a lot of instrumental parts in this
Yes.
song,
Yeah, yeah.
like especially at the end of the song, there was like this whole like string chord, like orchestra playing. Felt that the songs really transitioned
Mm.
well into each other. It was almost
Yes.
like listening to like a giant piece of music that like Mozart would create. And that was the other thing which I thought was kind of unique, because um it's again that whole like that was an old way of
Hmm.
writing music. You would have pieces that you would play, and there would be parts of the pieces and it would change, and you'd have like this 20-30 minute song. So that's what I kind of looked at with this. It was almost like that.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, it was definitely designed to be listened to on like vinyl, where it's like a continuous just playing from track 1 to track 2 all the way to the end. Whereas like on a streaming service and to a certain extent on CDs and digital like MP3s, you sort of have that like half a second
mhm,
gap between the songs. Whereas like these songs really were designed just to be like bleeding into each other, like a
mhm,
vinyl would, which was like interesting because like you don't see a lot of musicians do that these days. Like it used to happen a lot where they would bleed songs together, but this
mhm.
this whole album was just like front to back. That's how it was designed,
Yeah.
which is cool. I liked it,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just like listen to these songs and like even Hands of Time, the opening track, like it definitely was designed to be a lead single, but I was like, I
Which
sort
is
of
funny because the second song, the
bleed on paper.
Bleed on Paper was the single,
Yeah. But yeah, Hands of
which is
Time, I was like, I wish there was a bit more in here. I really like Johnny. I think Johnny for me was my favorite song on the record.
Mhm.
I really like that one, but I don't know. The songs just didn't do it for me. They were all
Oh
good,
man.
but not good enough. Would be my major criticism, which I don't know if is fair, but
Mhm.
I don't know. As a casual listener, as I was listening to it, and I was like, I need something a bit more to like bring me into this, right? Like
Yeah.
I am not an Eric Church fan, so you need to show me like what you're all about on this record. And I was like, maybe this record is for the fans rather than trying to bring new people in. That's sort of what I
See,
felt like.
and that's where it's interesting because I don't know if this is for the fans.
That's true.
Like I don't know if this is for the fans because you listen to his other, like, if I was to tell you to get into Eric Church,
Hmm.
I would definitely be like, listen to Chief or
Right.
Mr. Misunderstood.
Hmm.
Those two albums, unbelievable. Um, Everything else, he does have great songs in the albums, but this is not like, again, like, it's not for the country fans. It's not for, I don't even know if it's for diehard Eric Church fans, to be honest, because it's so out there as like it's different from what he's played before. So like I don't know where it belongs, but it was almost like he wanted to do this just because he had to do it, because he like, I need to do this for myself. That's
Hmm.
that's where I got this out of. Like he wasn't doing this for anybody but himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think I did lie. I'm sure now that you mentioned Chief, I'm looking at our
Mhm.
records. 2021, May 10th. We did
Mhm.
Chief by Eric Church on this
There you
podcast.
go.
On this pod, so maybe I have listened to Eric Church before.
Mhm. That album definitely has some very cheesy, like, country undertones to it, and that album has that Jack Daniels song on it, which I think it's amazing. I love just the way it's written, um, and it's a fun song. Definitely after Chief, he came out with Outsiders, I think,
Hmm.
and that's when he started kind of mixing more hard rock into country. And then he came out with Mr. Misunderstood, which was like definitely a more matured version of like, I'm not drinking like my face off kind of songs. I'm actually like writing, and he does have songs that he writes that are like very well made, and they're very like almost like a Bob Dylan-ish would write this song,
Mm.
or um but I don't know. This is something else. This is definitely like, I don't know where to place it, but I dug it. I it just spoke to me.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it all that much. I listened to it a few times
Mhm.
and I was like, It's good, but I don't know. It just it just wasn't something I was like overly interested in, which is a shame.
So it was funny because when the album dropped,
Mm.
they announced a tour, and it was like, I went from, I want to see him live, and I've already seen him a couple times live. So I'm like, I want to see him live because one of my favorite newer bands I've been getting into is the Marcus King Band, which I
Mm.
mentioned a couple episodes ago.
Yep.
But they're not new; like he's been around for a while. But I've been just like
He's so
pumping
good.
the
Yeah.
albums. He's so good, and he was going to open for him.
Ooh.
And then I was like, oh my God, I need to see that. Like, I need to get tickets. And then I found out that he's not coming to the Canadian side of the tour. It's going to be
Mm.
somebody else. I can't remember the name.
Oh, okay.
Didn't recognize him.
Okay.
But then after listening to this album, I was like, I want to go see him again. So I got tickets to go see him in November. So I'm pretty pumped.
Okay. That's
So
good. That's good. Is this in Vancouver or is this Victoria?
this is in Vancouver.
Vancouver. I just want to look
So
up who is actually opening for him in Vancouver because I would be interested to see. It is Charles Wesley Godwin.
yeah,
I've never heard of him.
never heard of him. So
He looks like a straight up lumberjack. Straight up lumberjack. the first suggested Google thing are Charles Wesley Godwin and Zach Bryan friends. People want to know if they're friends.
Interesting. Oh, they must have similar style of music.
Maybe, yeah. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Anyways, final thoughts and ratings, Eric. What are you gonna give this one?
I mean, I can see people listening to this being like, "What the hell?" I can definitely see like when you go to a concert, there's those typical fans that are there for the band, but they're not really there for the band. They're there because of popularity reasons.
Yes, yeah.
And you're just like, you don't even know any of their songs. You're just here because you've heard a few songs on the radio, and
It's
you're
like
like, I love Eric Church. I love him.
yeah, it's like
Right?
the Bon Jovi fans or the Journey fans who just like go for
Yeah.
"Don't Stop Believing" and just don't know any
Yeah.
other song.
They're like the bandwagoner fans.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh my God, when someone's like, oh yeah, I'm really a big Eric Church fan, they're like, oh my God, I love Eric Church too. Like them.
Yeah.
I could see people listening to this album being like, what the fuck? which I find amusing.
Mhm.
But other than that, I quite dug this album. I haven't stopped listening to it all week.
Oh, nice.
It is amazing. I am going to give this a 9 out of 10 in my
Wow.
books. A 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Wow. Very nice. 9 out of 10, eh?
And I would have given it a 10. Like my heart wants to say 10, but I just know that for country music fans and like the Eric Church fans who are just like, I like Eric Church, I feel like they're gonna miss a lot what this album has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Luton, thank you for wishing us a happy 200th episode. Sorry, I missed your chat. We're too deep into the conversation.
We are.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna diverge from you. I'm going to give this album a 6.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's a good enough album. I just did not connect with it at all. The songs sounded good. There was definitely a deeper meaning to it. But for me as a casual listener, there was just nothing to really grab onto. And that I feel like that 6 might be a bit skewed in terms of like personal preference. Cause like, I don't know. I listened to it and I was like, there were certain parts I was like bored with it, and certain parts I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I never really dug into it and like, oh, I have to listen to this on repeat. It was like, I listened to it once. I get it. I can listen to the next thing. But yeah, no, and also like I went into it thinking like I'm gonna listen to a country album and did not get that at all.
I would agree with you there. I would agree with you there. It's like very like maybe 10-15% country.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, when I came out of it, I was just like, where was the country in any of this? But yeah, I'm gonna stick with my 6 rating. Not that I wouldn't recommend it to people. I thought it was a good enough album. It's just like I just didn't vibe with it myself. Okay, cool. So that was Evangeline versus the Machine by Eric Church. The album that we are going to be discussing next week. We're gonna hopefully this is a country album next week. For recreational use only by Blake Shelton. I'm gonna make a claim here. This is definitely going to be a country album.
Yeah, Blake Shelton doesn't usually go past
Like,
his thing.
They're like, there's no way this is in a different genre. This is must be country.
Yeah, like Blake Shelton is really good at adding like those country slurs, I'm gonna say, in there, those like typical country lyrics that you're gonna expect. So yeah, I feel like you're gonna be like, this is too country.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna swing the other way next week. But yeah, that's the album that we're going to be discussing next week. And that's it for the podcast for the 200th time. Thanks everyone for tuning in, sticking with us through all these years. It's been fun. It's actually been really fun.
It has been a lot of fun. And cheers to everyone. Happy 200 episode. 200. And cheers to Iron Maiden for sponsoring this video.
They don't know it, but they
don't know it.
They're funding this whole podcast.
They're funding this episode. They asked me directly, could you please drink this bottle of Iron Maiden Darkest Red Wine from Portugal? Cheers, everybody. I didn't make it through the bottle. There's no way. Yeah. There's no way.
Cheers, Looney. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday, 10 p.m. ET, 7 p.m. PT here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast. Talk about music once again. Catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, and the YouTube channel where you can leave mean comments about how we're wrong about everything. And we'll probably read it if you do leave us a mean comment. So,
which is also fun. It's fun for us. I feel like we get like people are like, oh, I'm gonna get these guys, but we actually get pure joy reading these comments.
Yeah,
so
they're so funny. I love it. But anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in for another week. And we will catch you all next time.